Hello and welcome to Tape and Hair Extensions 101. I'm your host, Janna. Welcome to my channel. So usually I make videos to help you navigate the world of wigs and hair extensions. So I wanted to make this series. It's a little mini series on tape and hair extensions. So we're gonna go through all the basics today, like what they even are, how much they cost, pros and cons. And then throughout the series, I'll show you how I put them in, how I take them out, how I wash them, all that. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I do have some tape and hair extensions in right now, which I applied myself, and I'll show you how I do that later on in the series. But I'll show you what they look like. So this is one of the bonds right here. So I have a bunch of these in my hair right now. And basically the way it works is you kind of create a little sandwich on top of your hair. So there's two pieces here. This is one piece, and then my hair is sandwiched in between. And that's the other piece. So there's two pieces and my hair's in between, and there's adhesive on the inner sides of the two pieces, and that's how they kind of like fuse together and stick together. And the adhesive is totally safe to be on your hair, do not worry. And it's not actually tape per se, like as you know it. When I first heard about tape and hair extensions, this girl was like, you should try tape and hair extensions, I think you'd really like it. And I was like, tape? Why would I want to put tape in my hair? I was thinking like Scotch tape. I'm like, ew, this sounds like a total mess. Like, I don't want to do this. It's not like that at all. It's not like that at all. And they're not going to be sticky. I know some people have issues with the hair being sticky. If it's applied correctly, you won't feel any stickiness. And they're super, super lightweight and really comfortable. I've tried a bunch of different hair extensions in the past. I've pretty much tried all the different types you can get. I've tried like sew-ins, braidless sew-ins, which is similar to the hand-tied hair extensions. I've done the micro beads, I've done glue, the tapes, pretty much everything. I haven't tried the keratin bonds yet. That's like the only one that I haven't tried, but out of all of those, the tape-ins are definitely my favorite. So how long do they last and how long do they stay in your hair? So basically the hair itself, you can reuse up to about a year. So anywhere from 8 months to a year, depending on how well you take care of the hair, you know, condition it, everything like that. The bonds themselves, every 6 to 8 weeks, you're gonna wanna get them moved up. Either you can do this on your own or preferably have a stylist do it. So what that means, what do you mean have it moved up, is basically they remove the bond and put it back in. So as your hair grows, because your hair is going to naturally start to grow out and the bond is going to start to, and when I say bond, I'm referring to like this whole sandwich. This is going to start to come down, and even as you wash your hair, sometimes the weight of the water in your hair will cause the bond to start to slip just like a little bit. So every 6 to 8 weeks is a good marker to get them moved back up so that they're closer to your scalp. And when they're closer to your scalp, it's going to feel a lot more comfortable and you're not going to see it as much. When they start to hang a little lower, you can start to see it when your hair moves. So like I said, your stylist is going to remove everything from your hair, all the bonds, all the tapes, wash your hair and re-tape the hair extensions. So they're going to remove the old adhesive, put a new adhesive or tape, the term is like interchangeable, onto that piece and then reapply it to your hair. So that's what's going to happen every 6 to 8 months. So that's the maintenance. Wait, did I say months? 6 to 8 weeks. I don't know if I just said months, but that's the maintenance that's involved with tape-ins. So that's going to be a cost that you're going to reoccur pretty much every month and a half to 2 months. I would recommend the 6 weeks. Whenever I waited like 2 months, I felt like that was too long. And then you can also risk getting like tangling and matting up there. So about 6 weeks is a good marker. So yeah, that's going to be a reoccurring cost. So you're going to first originally pay for the hair and have it applied. And then every 6 weeks, you're going to have to get them put back in by your stylist if you want to maintain them. And then, like I said, you can use the hair up to a year. And after about a year, you're going to want to reinvest in new, shiny, soft hair. Just because after a year of wear, you're going to find that the hair starts to feel a little drier and like not as nice as when you first got it. So that's why they say about a year is when you're going to want to replace your hair. Do tape and hair extensions damage your hair? Short answer, no. You will be okay if your extensions are applied correctly, maintained correctly, and removed correctly. Then you will be totally fine. Your hair will be thriving. You will be fine. That being said, pretty much all hair extensions, there is a possibility of damage. Even when you wear clip-in hair extensions, having that extra weight on your hair, on those like clips, can cause breakage if you wear them a lot. If you don't have enough hair like to support the clip, then you can lead to some breakage. So there's always going to be some risk involved, but if you take care of it, get them applied correctly, removed correctly, you will be fine. So what I mean by having them applied correctly, so definitely go to a trained professional. Even though later on in this series I'm going to show you how to do it yourself and how to like remove them yourself, I definitely recommend going to a professional. So what I mean by having them applied correctly is your stylist is going to make sure that there's enough hair in between the two pieces in the sandwich. There's going to be enough hair to support the hair extension. If there's not enough hair, then sometimes the weight of the hair extension can cause some breakage. And especially when you're getting them removed, so even if you put them in yourself, I would recommend splurging on getting someone to take them out for you, because that's where troubles can happen. So you really want to make sure your stylist will know how to do this, is to make sure the adhesive is completely dissolved before you pull out the hair extension. So sometimes people get a little hasty and they pull out the hair extension before the adhesive is completely dissolved. Okay, because when it's completely dissolved, it will slide out like super smoothly. It'll be like no problem. But if it's not completely dissolved and people try to like open up the sandwich or like basically rip out the hair extensions, obviously that's going to damage your hair and that's going to rip your hair. Okay, we're not trying to wax our scalps here, okay? So I'll show you how I do it in the removal video, but again, go to a professional and they'll get it taken out for you super easily. It just slides out of your hair, no problem. Also, another thing to remember is every day, what is it? Do we naturally lose like 100 strands a day? Is that the statistic? Because that's like a lot. But you already know this. Every day you kind of lose some strands. And when you have extensions or tape and hair extensions, the hair that, do you like my demonstration? The hair that is like naturally gonna fall out gets caught in the tape. So when you get your hair removed, sometimes you'll notice that you have extra hair loss, but that is just the hair that would have already fallen out naturally, but it got stuck in the tape-ins. So when you get your tape-ins removed, you're like, oh my god, I'm losing so much hair. But that's the hair that already naturally fell out. That makes sense, right? So don't worry about that. And also sometimes when people get their hair extensions removed, they're like, oh my gosh, I like lost so much hair. But you just didn't have that much hair to begin with. That's like me. I like don't have that much hair. So when I remove my hair extensions, I'm like, that's it? This is all I have? And that's like all I had to begin with. So sometimes you kind of like forget, because you start to get used to having like thick, luscious hair. And then once it's removed, you're like, I lost all my hair. But no, like I said, if it's applied and removed correctly, you will not have any hair damage. Alright, so what are some pros and cons of tape-in hair extensions, and are they right for you? So having tape-ins in all the time is kind of a pro, because you wake up and you have long luscious hair, you go to sleep and you have long luscious hair, it's in your hair all the time, so you have like long glorious hair all the time. But it could be a con that you have it in all the time. You know, it's not like having clip-in hair extensions where you take them out at the end of the day. You know, you unclip them, you throw them on the floor, and you go to sleep. It's not the same. So because they're in your hair all the time, depending on yourself, like your personality and your lifestyle, it might be not irritating, but I've had friends who have gotten permanent hair extensions, not necessarily tape-ins, but then they pretty much get them removed right away just because they don't like the feeling of having something in their hair all the time. You know, you're not going to be able to like run your fingers through, well, you can run your fingers through your hair, but like you do have something in your hair. You know what I mean? So if you think that's going to bother you, then having permanent hair extensions or they're called permanent even though they're removable, but you sleep in them, you keep them in, so that's why they're kind of permanent. So having permanent hair extensions and having them in your hair all the time might bother you. You just kind of have to know yourself. And also when it comes to brushing your hair, sometimes if you have extensions in, you're not gonna have the same feeling of like a brush running against your scalp. I know that bothers some people, but yeah, you just kind of gotta know yourself. If you think having extensions in your hair all the time is going to be something that bothers you, honestly, I feel like you get used to it, especially with tape-ins. They're super lightweight and comfortable. That is another pro compared to other like hair extension styles that I've tried. I feel like tape-ins are super lightweight and really, really comfortable. You honestly feel like, you know, there's nothing in your hair. I feel like you get used to them so easily. And even when you sleep with them, because they lay so flat to your head, I feel like you really don't even feel them. I've had other hair extension types like the micro beads and even the wefts. Like the beads, you could feel the little beads in your hair. So when you go to sleep and you lie down, you can feel the little beads like pushing up against your head. You kind of get used to it, but it could be something that might bother you. Or even with like the wefts, just like feeling like there's something in your hair might bother you. Like I said, you kind of have to know yourself. So that's just something to think about, because I feel like some people don't even really realize that. It's not like you grew your own hair. There's something attached to your hair. So just keep that in mind. And kind of hand in hand with that, having tape-in hair extensions and or hair extensions in general do require a little bit more maintenance than you might be used to. So again, reflect on your lifestyle. Do you have time to be, you know, when I wash my tape-in hair extensions, I feel like it takes me like at least 2 hours. It's like, you know, the process of washing my hair, then the process of like blow drying my hair and like flat ironing it, making sure everything's good. It's not really like a wash and go kind of thing where when I don't have hair extensions. So that is another thing to keep in mind. It does require a little bit more maintenance. And also I find sometimes girls with like shorter, thinner hair, kind of like me, when you get hair extensions, you kind of forget that longer, or maybe you don't, not that you don't forget, but you might not even realize that having longer, thicker hair does require more maintenance in general. So, you know, it has to be brushed more often. You have to like tie it up when you go to sleep. Just little maintenance things like that are something to think about. So they do require a little bit more maintenance than usual. And another thing about tape-in hair extensions compared to some of the other methods, they are a little bit less expensive. Like for example, the keratin bonds can be quite expensive, and those ones only last about 4 to 6 months and you can't reuse the hair. But with tape-ins, you can reuse the hair up to a year. So the initial cost to put them in is a little bit less expensive than the keratin bonds. But then again, with tape-ins, you have to remember every 6 weeks or so, you're gonna need to pay to get them taken out and put back in. So again, another thing with maintenance and with costs. So these are just some things to think about if you are thinking about investing with tape-in hair extensions. All right, so let's touch on prices, like how much are these even gonna cost? So I'm gonna pull up some hair extension salons in my area so we can look at the prices. So I am in the Toronto area, so these are in Canadian dollars. All right, so let me look these up. So here is a salon that offers a bunch of variety of different kinds of hair extensions. So they have Bellamy tape-ins. Their Bellamy tape-ins, they charge $8.15 as a starting rate. They also offer Glam Seamless, which starts at $655. So Glam Seamless is the brand that I have in my hair right now. And I have about 22 inches. And right here you can see 22 inches. Their starting price is $995. And I did not pay that much for my hair extensions. So that is including the installation. In the next video, I'm going to show you exactly like how I bought my hair extensions, how much I paid for them. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, they offer a few other different styles. So you're looking at about $600 to $800 for the initial installation. So that includes the purchase of the hair as well as the application. So around $600 to $800, could be more. It all varies depending on how much hair you need, what length you want. So all those factors definitely factor in. All right, and I'm gonna look at their other prices. So extension removal, they charge $75 for 100 grams or less of extension removal. And for retaping and application, all right, so those were just some prices just to give you a little bit of a general idea. Of course, prices vary greatly depending on how much hair you need, what length you're going for, what salon you go to, what stylist you go to. So there's so many different factors. So definitely shop around with different salons in your area, do a little price comparison, see what's in your budget. As you can see by these prices, this is a luxury service, so this is not cheap. So this is definitely something you want to invest in, and you don't want to cheap out on bad hair. Please don't. I've done this myself where I've bought tape-ins from a supplier for $200. I was like, yeah, such a good deal. And I put them in myself. I literally washed my hair once and they were so matted and so tangly, and I don't think it was obviously not good hair. They were not cuticle aligned. It was a mess, and I basically had to remove them right away, and I couldn't reuse them because it was just not good hair. So definitely invest in good hair and invest in a good stylist, and you will be off to the races with your beautiful locks. And of course, in the rest of this series, I will show you how I put them in myself. You can put them in yourself. They are actually, in my opinion, one of the easiest hair extension methods to do on yourself. You really can't do your own keratin bonds. You can't, I mean, some people do their own sew-ins, but out of all the different methods, I feel like putting tape-ins is pretty easy to do yourself. So if you do want to save a little bit of money, you can definitely buy your own tape-ins and put them in yourself. So speaking of which, in the next episode, which I'll link here once it's up, you can see how I shop for my own tape and hair extensions. So what I look out for, how many pieces I get, how many grams I get, how much I spent on these, what's a good price range. So if you want to see that, definitely click here. And if you have any questions at all on anything that I touched on in this video, leave it in the comments down below, and I'll of course answer it in the comments, or I might answer your question in an upcoming video. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!